usually jump in, jump out,
Okay.
LinkedIn,
Yeah,
YouTube,
yeah, yeah.
they do all that stuff. Good afternoon, everyone,
Oh,
and
hello.
thank you for joining myself and my special guest, Meg Swertlow. Now, did I get
Yeah,
your last
pretty much. Swertlow. It's
Swertlow?
it looks more complicated than it is, but I've been
Okay.
dealing with it for 40 years. So
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. And welcome myself and my guest, Meg Swertlow, on a conversation with, and I am your humble host, Floyd Marshall Jr. And I'm extremely
hello.
excited about this podcast today uh, because I'm interviewing women in horror,
Hmm.
which is an absolutely amazing genre that you really don't see too many women in. So when I was approached by my friend Stacy Pippi,
She's
and she
great.
said, Floyd, yeah, oh, I love her. She said, Floyd,
Hmm.
I have these amazing women filmmakers that are going to be a part of the Etheria Film Festival, and I would love for you to talk to them. Would you be interested? I said, let me check my calendar. Yes. So
Great.
setting those up, but some things happened, so we had to move some things around. But we're getting back to normal.
Yeah,
So welcome to the show, Meg. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, a question that I usually ask rather my guests when they
Mhm.
first come on is, how did you get started in the film business?
In the film business, well, my parents are both entertainment journalists,
Hmm.
so that's kind of raised and born into it. I'm actually in my mother's office, so
Oh,
she wrote this Mel Gibson story and this story about. So it's like she has all her covers. She was the head writer of TV Guide for
oh, nice.
many years, and so kind of I guess that was my first experience, being on sets and being around stories and watching. We dissected television as a family. That's kind of
Hmm.
that was our table talk. Was, oh, let's watch the pilots and let's talk about them, and let's talk about Twin Peaks when I'm 9 years old, things like that.
Mm,
So I was just always aware of Hollywood and telling stories on screen
hmm.
and always loving that. So and then I went to college for theater and was performing for a long time, and I got into stand up comedy and improv, and eventually I started turning my um, stand up into a one woman show,
Mm.
which I turned into my first script. And kind of that was in 2016, 2017, and I started doing well in some of the film festival competitions and some of the competitions on Coverfly. And eventually, about now it's 3.5 years ago, I was at a film festival that my screenplay No Overnight Parking was up for. I was a finalist for, and I kind of just watched a lot of men's names on screen, and all the lead characters. It's hard not to notice are female for the majority, and I thought we needed more from the female gaze, or maybe less from the the male gaze, and I wanted to just get my voice out there by directing. So that's kind of how. So about 3.5 years ago, after going to the Nightmares Film Festival, which was wonderful, it was second runner up in it, and that was awesome. And then kind of decided I was going to do a proof of concept for that script, and that is what is actually playing at Etheria now. So
Oh, nice, nice,
mhm,
nice. So let's jump ahead a little bit because
mhm.
we're going to kind of be all over the place because I have
Good. I have pretty severe ADHD, so we're good.
okay. So let's talk about 2022 because that was a pretty big year for you.
Mhm.
Your horror short Voiceless was chosen to be a part of Give Me an A, a feature length anthology in response to Roe v. Wade
Being
being
overturned.
overturned. Can you talk about the process of having watched that and then deciding? Now, did you write the film? You wrote the film
So
in response to it, or
So, to explain, it's Roe v. Wade got overturned June 24th,
Mhm.
2022. And then 5 days later, Tasha Halevi, who's the creator of the project, messaged some women in horror. Like, I wasn't really friends with her, I knew her, and she
Mhm.
messaged some women via Instagram and just said, hey, I noticed you posted something about Roe v. Wade being overturned, and you're mad. How mad are you? Come to this Zoom group tomorrow. And I thought it was a protest group. And when we got on, it was a bunch of names of females in horror that I
Mhm.
had seen at film festivals, and I knew of their work. And so it was a bunch of women. And she just said, hey, I want to do something about it. Let's do an anthology of films. She has a lot of wonderful connections, and said, like, I'm going to make this happen. I don't know how I'm going to make this happen. Give me an idea in the next 5 days. We're going to shoot it in 3 weeks. And it's like, I want an idea in 5 days. I want a script in, I don't know, a week. We're going to get notes, and then we're going to be shooting in 3 weeks. We ended up shooting, I think, in about 4 weeks. Yeah, I shot on the 30th or the 31st of July, and she contacted me June 29th. So it was a very tight turnaround, and we
Mhm.
had the whole project done within 10 weeks of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So it was a pretty harrowing feat, all captained by Tasha, and I don't know if anyone else could have done what she did and has done and continues to do, because XYZ picked it up for distribution. It's now on Amazon. It's played all these incredible film festivals. We've been able to take the uh, the project to countries and states where abortion is illegal now,
Mm.
and it's been really it's been a phenomenal experience. And what I always say about it is, I'm so glad to have been a part of it, but I wish it didn't have to happen.
Yeah, that was to say that was a gut kick would be a definite understatement. And as a
Yeah.
as a father of two daughters, you know, my wife and I, we are very, very, very pro-choice. Because our thing is, and especially being a man that was in a house with three women, and
Hmm.
and the animals were female.
Yeah.
So we were
My
always
husband too.
about,
So
yeah. So okay, we're
two
in
sisters. Yeah.
solidarity. So it's always been where we raise them to be their own persons,
Hmm.
and to actually have someone else tell them what they can and cannot do
Yeah.
with their bodies just does not sit well with me. But that's not this kind of podcast, ladies and gentlemen. uh we can be here all day with that particular thing, because that gets my blood boiling. But I want to
Hmm.
talk to you really quickly, because I was listening to an interview that you did. I actually listened to a couple of them,
Oh.
and you were talking about a director shadowing program that
Hmm.
you were a part of, but the twist was you were 9 months pregnant.
Yes.
So I'm sitting there saying, okay, now how in the did that work out? So I said, I cannot wait to talk to her, because I'm going to ask,
Oh yeah.
how did that turn out?
Well, I had applied. It was the Ryan Murphy Half Initiative, and I'd applied a few years prior. And with my first short film, actually, I'd finished a short film, and then a week later, I applied to the Ryan Murphy Half Initiative, February of 2020. Great.
Mm,
And then a few days later, I was interviewing with them at Paramount, and I ended up not. I was a finalist, but I didn't get in that year, and it was ended up being uh, delayed, obviously because of COVID, for about a year and a half. But I didn't get in, and but I'm the type of person who's pretty determined, and I stayed in touch with them, and I I applied again, and I stayed in touch. And when I actually had done when Voiceless was done,
mhm,
I emailed the head of it, and I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I did this project." I sent her a link to the Deadline article, or it was maybe whatever, the trades article about it, and I said, "Here's a link to it, if you wanted to check it out." And then a couple days later, I was interviewing. I think it was September, and during the conversation, she said, "I really would love for you to do this." And what she didn't know, because it was on Zoom, is that I was 8 months pregnant.
mm,
Um, and once she started talking about possible dates to do it, I was like, "Look, I have to tell you something, and I'm afraid you're not going to give it to me because I'm very pregnant." And she was wonderful, and that's what is so great about. Sherry Page in the Half Initiative is, she said, you have two options because I really want you to do this. I know you've worked really, really hard and made huge strides in a short amount of time. And she said, you can either wait a long time to do it when you're physically ready, or you do it immediately. And she said, my instinct for you is to do it immediately. And I'm so glad she did, because I feel like I've had huge opportunities as a result of doing it. And, it was supposed to be done. It was like October, through all of October. And then it was supposed to be like November 7th, and my due date was November 22nd. And then they ended up pushing the biggest day of the shoot, 200 extras, like storming the capital of Austin, aka Pomona College. And just this huge, everyone in the cast. And they ended up having to push the date to November 15th. The baby was breech. And so I knew that I was going to be November 17th. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening? And I was like, I'm going to go. I'm going to do it. My husband took the day off of work and he came with me to Pomona. I had to be there at 5 a.m., I think, and came with me to Pomona, sat at a coffee shop because he couldn't be on set on campus because of COVID restrictions. And if I'd gone into labor, he would have driven me to Cedars. And that was just like, look, just do it. Just do it. I have a directing mentor, Mary Lou Belli, and she had said to me, my water broke when I was on set. And I thought, well, if she can push it to that, then like, why can't I? And so that's what I did. And I didn't go into labor on set, but I was on set until about, I'm going to finish the day. And I think I was on set till about like 36, 40 hours until I had her. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, you know what, I had a question, but I want to step to the side for a bit because your mentor, she sounds like a very amazing woman.
She really is. She just got nominated actually for her second Emmy for the Miss Pat show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's really, and it's like the people she's nominated with are pretty amazing, like Bill Hader and a bunch of other just fantastic people. So she really is. She's paid her dues and is very talented.
So let me ask you this: when you went to her and you told her that you were thinking about being a director, and she gave you the answer she gave you, did she ever explain what she meant by that? Because she basically saying that if it was anyone else, I would have said no, but
Yeah.
you go for it. Why do you think she said that to you in particular?
Yeah. So the background of that is I asked her, and she just said exactly what you said. And I think a couple of reasons is I'd known her for a really long time. She lives across the street from where I grew up. And so she had kind of seen my progression as a human and knew that my background was that I was a theater major and that I performed improv for many, many years. And I think she also knew how determined I was when it came to my screenplays and my scripts. And so knowing that information about me, she just thought, I think this would be a really good choice for you. But she also knows how hard it is. And here's the thing is, I didn't know how hard it was. I don't know if I would have done it if I knew how hard it was, but that's the story of my life. And thank God, thank God I didn't know. I was just like, okay, I'm a director now. And I also realized like all the scripts that I had written in a way to direct them. I'd sometimes gotten the note of like, oh, you're writing this to direct. And, we don't do that in screenplays, but I'm glad I did, because that's just how I saw the script. So it was really, really encouraging. And I talk to her all the time. And she is nothing but supportive. And, it's not just for me. She is really, it's not pays it forward, as she gives it back. And really believes in mentoring. So I feel very, very lucky to have her.
Yeah, she sounded, because when you were talking about, I was like, wow, and she's a person after my own heart, because you talked about doing it scared, And I've been in this business for 18 years. And I don't think there are too many times that I did not do it scared.
Mhm.
And the unknown, because I think, Meg, if the vast majority of us knew, like you said earlier, you didn't know how hard it was. I think if the vast majority of us knew how hard it would be, we wouldn't have done it. But here's what I think separates you and so many others that are successful in this. You do it scared, you find out how hard it is, but you keep moving forward. Because a lot of people say, you know what, I can't do this.
Mhm.
I can't do this. So the fact that you've forged ahead and you are really making a mark for yourself. I did my research, and
You really did, and thank you for saying all this, but I'm like, sometimes I've been to generals where it's like, I was like, "You clearly know nothing about me." But I appreciate the research, so
well, you know what? It's a learning. It's one of the okay. We're getting a little off track, but I have to say this. One of the reasons that I do this podcast is because I get to learn from people like you. Every time I do this podcast, for me, it's a masterclass
Mhm,
because I'm always adding to my knowledge base,
mhm.
and listening to your other interviews, I've heard some names that I was that were unknown to me before. Some phenomenal women directors, which is kind of an issue in Hollywood because you always hear about the dudes,
Mhm,
but there's so many amazing, phenomenal women
mhm.
out there, and that's one of the reasons I love having met Stacy, and she's exposing me to so many phenomenal women in horror. But this is not about me. Back to you. You optioned a script which is absolutely amazing.
Oh,
So
thank
so did anything happen with that? Did it go any further? Or
well,
is it in development or is it in a holding
it
pattern at the moment?
it's in a holding pattern. We
Okay.
sent it to the producer on, what is it, May 1st?
Okay.
So it's just we're trying to package it, and that's with I have a rom-com writing partner, Alicia Gaddis, and she's one of my best friends, and I know her from comedy. She's a Latin Grammy winner and been nominated for multiple Grammys with her children's band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with she and her husband have a children's band, and they're fantastic. And yeah, we've known each other for at least 15 years. And so she doesn't watch horror at all. She's terrified of it. And I got approached by Colleen Marshall, at the time was with Matt Bear Films, and she started her own company, but Colleen approached me about an idea, and I thought, Alicia's one of my best friends. Let's try doing this together. And it's been just so joyful. And so we got another draft out right before, right before the the world shut down in a different way. The
Mhm.
Hollywood shut down. So um we're waiting to, take that to more places. But it's very fun and I'm very proud of it.
That's great. Well, I mean, the Hollywood, nothing moves fast.
Well, certainly not when no one can read your stuff.
And definitely, and especially now, wow, with everything, with
Yeah.
everything. But you know what? I'm going to put that question aside for a second.
Okay.
I want to ask you because I'm a big romantic.
Mm.
So when you talked about the story of how your mom and dad met, I said that is so freaking cool. And there's this gentleman that I listened to at my let. He said things don't happen to you; they happen for you.
Mhm.
So with the mudslide
Yeah.
and how things just kind of came together, can you tell that story because that is such an awesome story.
So my mom is an entertainment journalist, as I said, and she got offered a job at TV Guide in, I think it was 1980.
Mhm.
She said no, she was freelance, she wasn't interested. And then a mudslide happened into her house and she had to pay all this money. And she called back TV Guide and said, "Can I get the job?" And they said, "Well, we actually gave it to this other guy from Chicago." And then I think they got back to her and said, "You know what? Let's have you both do the job." And that was my future dad. They started the same day at TV Guide, and they were co-reporters together, and they fell in love. And then they were married. Maybe it was 79. I'm not. Uh, I don't remember. I don't. Not so that I remember. I wasn't there. They're married in 81, and
Wow.
a year later, I was born. And yeah, so they were there are these like old videos of them because I used to do like being on Joan Rivers' show, and there's like this like crazy Hollywood background. It's like Mr. and Mrs. Hollywood. It's so 80s. It's just so wonderfully 80s. Yeah, and they used to do like talk show appearances together, and I mean, they are no longer married, but they got me. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's a pretty fun story. It's a very fun meet cute.
That is a nice story. I was like, oh, that's so cute.
Hmm.
I really loved it when you told that story. But really, I want to talk a little bit about your shooting style
Hmm.
and how you make films. And did that come from watching other female directors or just directors in general, and you then incorporating some of their style into your um technique or how you make films, or did you develop your own unique style of shooting films?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that I steal a little bit from everybody.
Mhm.
You know, take what take what you like and leave the rest. Um, I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I read books still, and that's the thing. Is like I'm still developing what my style is and how I direct. I still feel very new to directing.
Mhm.
I've learned a lot, and I have a lot to learn. So I'd love to be on set more. I think it was very hard in the pandemic to be on set because of COVID restrictions. I learned a lot from my mentor in the Half Initiative, Michael Medico, and kind of just saw how his energy was really infectious. And then I saw some of the other directors who are much more subdued, and I don't think that I just don't know like how to be a subdued person, so I don't think that's going to be my style. I also um I'd like to go on instinct. I think it's like you get all the knowledge, and then hopefully when you're there on set, you just kind of trust that you have it. Although I do think it's like, I mean, the amount of times, every single shoot that I've had, I have said to myself, you should probably leave right now.
Mm.
And like, that's okay. Like we talked about before, it's like, I mean, I listen to Roger Deakins' podcast, and that's something that has informed me a lot. And I get inspiration from that because he says every shoot he gets scared before. And I'm like, well, if Roger Deakins, the master of cinematography, gets scared, like it's okay that I'm scared. And when he says, like, my first job, I got a feature, and he's like, I had no idea what I was doing. And it's like, okay, you don't have to like, I get scared about having my first feature, but I also know like I don't have to have the shot list now. I don't even have the feature, or what script it would be. So I think knowing that I do the work, can do the work, talk to people who know more than I do. I've had a wonderful DP for the past two shorts, Noah Rosenthal, who's someone I've known since I was in Mommy and Me, and we're able to trust each other, and we have wonderful communication. And so I think, and he's done a bunch of features, and to be able to talk to him and get his opinion, and then also, make my own decisions. I think that's been my shooting style, is like get as much get as much work in before you can, and then hopefully uh, let it go while you're on set.
Hmm. I want to talk about scared again.
Mhm.
For me, doing it scared means that I'm going in the right direction because I'm uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Because if you're comfortable, then you're not pushing yourself to the extreme of where you can actually take anything that you're doing. So is when you talk about you being scared yourself, is that a thought that's in your mind that, hey, I'm scared, but the reason I am is because I'm taking this as actually as far as I can go, and I'm actually pushing myself to the limits of what I know and beyond.
I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons why fear takes. I'm not going to say takes over, but why it's in there, and I'm afraid it won't work out. I'm afraid we've bitten off too much. I mean, for no overnight parking, yeah, you've seen that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so no overnight parking, it's a 2-day shoot, and there's stunts and driving and blood, and like it we that's the amount of time we had. We couldn't, there were gonna be no reshoots.
Mm.
It was that's what we got. And so it was a very difficult shoot. Um and so there was, I mean, I honestly, what I was most afraid of the whole week is because it was in February of 2022, and we did most of it, is that Alyssa was going to get COVID because she had kids. And so I was like, I don't believe she's going to be there until she's on that set, because it was like, it had peaked to a crazy amount and it started to like, but that is still meant, I think, like 30,000 people, like a day were getting COVID or something. So I was like, all this work is going to go out the drain, down the drain. And, um, so there was that fear. I have found that once I am on set,
Mm.
in the element, focusing on the acting, that is when the fear drops. And I also do some prep work before, like I get on my knees and pray, and I like danced in that creepy ass parking garage by myself. I got there first. I think I was like last to leave. I certainly was last to leave the last night. And I was, all the lights had been turned off, and
Mm.
I'm in the car, and there's this creepy witch thing that is in the short film, and it started going it
Oh
started
wow.
going off. And I was like, I wrote like, are you joking? It was so creepy. I was like, what is that noise? And I think I was in a parking garage. I was in a parking garage by myself, super creepy. And I was like, are you joking?
Well, you are a horror writer.
I am a horror writer. I don't want to live it, but I can't tell you how many times I've still been lost in a parking garage. I
You
was
know
like,
what? Don't
Meg,
feel bad. Don't feel
Meg,
bad.
this
Don't
is
feel
your
bad.
whole movie.
It happens. Sometimes I still do the remote control with the with your no the with your car because I
Oh
can't
yeah,
find my
oh yeah,
car.
uh-huh.
Yeah, so don't feel bad.
I know.
You're
Yeah,
not alone with that.
yeah.
But let's talk about the last 3 years that you've had, because you have been very busy. I mean, you've been putting things out. 8 shorts, 40 film festivals, mom, wife. Now, is there anything resembling balance, or do you even believe in that thing they call work life balance? With
Um,
everything that you have going on, and then being a wife and a mom, how do you manage that?
well, not always well, and and right now the strike is, it's good timing for me. I mean, I really don't want it to be
Mhm.
happening. I want the people who want to read my scripts to read my scripts. But it does allow me to have time with my daughter, and she's 8 months old, and I get to spend some precious time with her. And I had a mom who worked, from I think 1 or 2 months after I was born, and so I'm just kind of like, I'm like, I'm a go 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 person, and I'm trying to allow myself to just like be where I am. I'm the primary caregiver. My husband is an electrician at Paramount, and I I'm just trying to like spend that time with her. She only sleeps on me when she naps. She's an amazing sleeper, but she only like naps on me, and I want to be like, mommy has scripts to read, or but I'm just trying to enjoy it, because I tend to say to her like, you'll never be this big again. Like, like every day, just like you'll never be this big again, or this small again. And it's true. So I'm trying to be in the moment, but it can be hard because I have these really big dreams. I also feel like I put my pedal to the metal for all of the pandemic, and I'm trying to like be gentle on myself for not producing a lot right now, but I'm also going to film festivals and working on a draft of a rewrite of something, and percolating on another idea. So I'm trying to still do stuff, but a lot of times I'm just watching horror movies with my baby next to me to try to think about structure for
Okay.
for my shorts,
Wow.
for my feature.
Wow. Well, my sister, who is a best-selling author,
Mm.
that's what she writes. She writes horror books,
Okay.
vampire stuff. She said, "Hello, my horror sister." So,
Oh, I love that. She should watch my short Watcher. It's very fun.
now you know what? Now, how was that the one that was 2 minutes and 32 seconds long?
I have a
Because
couple that are
I
really
saw I saw I
short.
saw
There's one with like me. I'm in one of them just because I had to be.
yes.
In the one called Jenny with the
Oh no, that was it, Jenny. I couldn't
the
find
donkey
Watcher.
one. Watchers because it's not available.
Oh,
I can send it to
okay.
you,
You're
but
gonna have to send it because I was looking for that.
yeah, it's fun. And that one played a bunch of festivals, and that actually I shot March 15th, 2020, literally like, or March 14th, overnight March 14th to March 15th, 2020 in Los Angeles. LA shut down March 15th. So it was it was like, this was definitely like, there are no reshoots. There are no reshoots on this one.
Wow, wow.
So
So let me ask you this:
mhm.
theater, improv, comedy, one woman show. What part, if any, has theater and improv and all those other things um, played a part in your writing of horror stories? Because oftentimes I find that some of the best horrors are also the most funny.
Yeah, I think horror people are really funny. I think they're a lot, honestly, tend to be a lot more fun than comedy people. And I love comedy people. I was very heavily into like the comedy scene, but um horror people are eliciting not a laugh, although sometimes they are, but a scare. So either way, we're trying to like sometimes deceive or guide the viewer and the
Mm.
reader. And so I think there are similarities in that. I think for me also, the fact that I did improv um, has also helped me to not be as precious with dialogue. If something, so for an overnight parking, I've workshopped some of the scenes, the feature. I've workshopped some of the scenes in a directing class and with professional actors, and it's like if something didn't feel right to them, or it didn't sound right, or I'd change the script because I heard it coming out of people's mouths and what seems more natural, as opposed to like, these are my words, say it perfectly. It's like, what feels more natural, what feels more comfortable, is there something missing? I tend to start off working with actors after they've read the script and say, is there anything that doesn't make sense to you? Do you need clarity on anything? And we have a discussion. And I think that's what's been nice about being able to work with actors and not do it, on set where you can spend more time with them, is to develop that rapport and that trust. So it's much quicker and much more high stakes when you're on set figuring some of this stuff out. And so I'm trying to do the footwork before to know how to direct better with those higher stakes.
Hmm. So, entertainment writer,
Yes, I did that for.
paparazzi.
I was not a paparazzo.
No,
I
but you wrote the
did
stories
work.
for.
I did work for them, but
So this is the question, because when I was writing out my questions, this popped into my head. Because you said you never want to go back to that again.
I don't.
So
But Who
And this
knows?
and as I was writing my questions, this idea popped into my head. So I'm going to ask you:
Mhm.
have you ever considered writing a horror story about an entertainment paparazzi writer who wants to get out,
Mm.
but they can't? It's like they're trapped. Have you ever considered that?
There was like a crime idea that I had. The name is ridiculous. It's called Pap Smeared. Gross. Gross.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
don't like stuff like that, but it's
Oh,
like, oh, this is amazing. I haven't thought about it in regards to being an entertainment journalist, and I think it's because I have written a pilot, a comedy, a dark comedy pilot about a mother-daughter entertainment news duo,
mhm.
and that also did well in some of the festivals. But and it's very very fun. But I had some people read it and they loved it, but like no one wants to see stuff about Hollywood. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out that year, but so I don't know. I was like, yeah, that's not true. But so I have attacked it
Mhm.
in the comedic sense, but I haven't yet. There's just a few ideas where I'm like, I will one day. I was an apartment manager for a while, and I know that will somehow that there will be a story about that one day, but I haven't tackled it yet.
Yeah, I can only imagine the stories that you have regarding that line of work because of the people that you've run across, the different types of people in an apartment complex that you have to interact with. I can only imagine. And the reason I said it is because I've been a public transportation driver for 30 years.
Oh wow, yeah.
So yeah, I
People,
got a
I'm
story.
sure, so much worse there.
I got a story for every day of the week,
Oh yeah, and then
and
some.
yes, yes, yes. I have a never ending supply if it's needed. But no overnight parking. I asked you all of those questions to get to this.
Okay, great
No,
questions, by the
yeah,
way. Great
thank you
questions.
so
You've
much.
done the work. I appreciate that.
You are so welcome. No overnight parking. Where and how did you come up with that concept? Because that was excuse my French, that was a kick-ass movie.
Thank you. I mean, pretty simply, I don't know how to do high concept, and one day maybe I will. And it's been interesting to see like the comments online. And I know like you're never supposed to read the comments, and then people are like simple and great, and other people are like this is too simple. And it's like I
Mhm.
don't. That's just how my brain works. No overnight parking, which is about a woman fleeing from her abusive husband who gets trapped in an underground parking garage with a masked killer. Uh, it I came up with it because I was in a parking garage and the security guard locked us in.
Mm.
Well, we were like my friend and I were chatting, was like eating ice cream and chatting about boys, and the security guard locked us in. And the car had to be there overnight, and
Oh, wow.
there we were able to like get out via the stairs, but
Mhm.
I kind of like it brought up about how scary it is. It brought up the fact that it is very scary to be a woman. It is scary to be in a parking garage, and someone makes a decision, and you have to be in this cavernous cement hell. Um, and so I started thinking about that, and I started thinking about the fact that I had been in this emotionally abusive relationship, and how getting stuck in there reminded me of getting trapped in that relationship that I was really begging to stay in, sadly, and I wanted the parking garage to be the metaphor for getting out of the abusive relationship. So, I used the reality of getting locked in a parking garage with my other reality of getting out of something very toxic.
Hmm. So you plan on well, before I ask you that, Etheria Film Festival. So
Mhm.
so what made you decide that you wanted to um submit it to the Etheria Film Festival?
I had been in touch with Heidi Honeycutt for a few years, and I applied with Watcher. I don't know, in 2020, and it didn't
Mhm.
get selected, and rightly so. Um, and I'd stayed in touch with her. Um, I knew that Etheria was one of the most well-respected horror nights, and so when I did No Overnight Parking, I contacted her and said I wanted to apply, and she encouraged me to apply, and then she emailed me and was like, "I just want you to know how fantastic this is." And it was just so kind of her to
Mhm.
say that. I mean, they got 1,600 submissions, and she really, I felt like, went above and beyond to be positive and to talk to my mentor at Blumhouse and, let him know how good it was,
Mhm.
because during the Blumhouse lab, which I was selected for with the feature script of No Overnight Parking, they weren't. I had the proof of concept for the script, but the mentors actually weren't allowed to see it. So it was, Heidi essentially urged him to see it, and that's pretty cool that the head of features at Blumhouse can, you know really liked it. And I hope that that opens some doors, but I'm going to keep knocking on whatever doors I can.
That's awesome. So you talked about now. I hope I'm not mixing this up. The the Sizzle Festival that you applied for that turned
Yes.
into the short film. I can't remember. Was that for overnight parking?
Yes, that was a much earlier draft of No Overnight Parking, and that was, I know there's like, it's like I've been working on this so long. Like, I've gotten like a bunch of fellowships for the script of No Overnight Parking. It started with the Hedgebrook Screenwriters Lab in 2018,
Mhm.
and that's a feminist screenwriters lab off the coast of Seattle in Whidbey Island, and I only had 30 pages of the script at that point. Um, and so that one for an early iteration of it, and then I applied to ISA, International Screenwriters, Emerging Screenwriters Shoot Your Sizzle contest. And I actually had no recollection of applying to it because I applied to so many things, and I think it was free. And excuse me, I applied to it, but I had no recollection of applying to it. So when I got the email, I didn't know I was a finalist. And so when I
Mhm.
actually got the email that said, like, you've won, you're the grand prize winner, I it was like, you have $40,000 in prizes, $5,000 in cash, like insurance, a camera, music through Universal, all these things. I wrote back, I'm sorry, is this a joke? It's like, I just thought, I like didn't think it was real because I was like, what are you just like, what are you talking about? Um, and they were like, no, this is real. You've been picked.
Mm.
And I been working with ISA and specifically Felicity Wren and really the whole team at ISA, which is a very fantastic group of people who have really supported me and believed in me. And I adore them and talk to them all the time because they are the producers of the project. Originally, they did have it as a shoot your sizzle contest, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do that. And I think this is one of the things of like, you you say yes to things, and sometimes I don't know if it's you put your foot down, but you also can challenge some of. I have found that I challenge some of the things that I was offered, um, and they wanted to shoot your sizzle, and I said I didn't think that that would work for horror. I think horror is about creating tension, showing that you can create tension, and that if you can do a horror short that you can take to festivals, you can get some heat, you can get buzz, people will know who you are. And I didn't believe that that would happen with a sizzle. Um, they have subsequently changed the competition. It is a shoot your short competition now. So I think they also got to see that you really can make a lot more headway um, with a short film than with lots of cuts.
Hmm. So we're almost done, but
Mhm.
with that, I wanted you briefly to talk about the power of asking
Mhm.
because I'm really huge on that. I always tell people closed mouths don't get fed. And if you don't ask, you don't you'll if you don't ask, you are guaranteed 100% to hear a no
Mhm.
because you didn't ask.
Yeah.
But if you do, there's at least a 50% chance that you'll get a yes.
Yeah.
And you talked about that. And when you were talking about them actually changing it from a sizzle to a short film festival, that really bears it out. So, and you've talked about a couple of the times where you just simply asked the question.
Mhm.
So, can you talk about that briefly?
Yeah, I can, and I will also say it was with the short, they wanted it to be the lead. The leads of the feature are not the leads in the short,
Mm,
and I know that they weren't sure if that was the right choice, and I tried to do it. I tried to write the script in the middle of tried to write the short script in the middle of it, and just
mhm.
didn't work for me. I really felt like it was the cold open that I had already written, and I um I like just I kind of just stuck to my guns, and eventually they were like, we do believe in you." And I'm so glad that I did. Because I kind of like I don't know if asking is the right word, but it was the like, I know that that's what you want, but I don't think that is the strongest choice.
Mhm.
Um and so in regards to overnight parking and getting Alyssa or getting French Stewart is that's what I always say to people. They're like, "How'd you get her?" I was like, "I asked. I wrote a letter and I asked." And it's really for the whole crew. The crew really is. It was a fantastic crew, and I have a mother who's. I've watched her on red carpets. I've been on red carpets with her. She will talk to anyone. She's an amazing role model. I will. I don't know. I was like, out with her once, and Wes Anderson walked by and she's like, "Will you come to my class at USC?" So, because she now teaches a class at USC. And she will go up to anyone, any celebrity. I've seen her go up to Mick Jagger and Francis Ford Coppola and just like anyone and just say hello or will you come to my class? And as a result, she's gotten Oprah, Sean Penn, Kaylee Cuoco, who knows how to pronounce her last name, but she's lovely. And I've just seen her do these things that I think people think that they can't ask.
Mhm.
And so, because of that example, I knew that I wanted someone who was a household name to be in my short film, and I knew that my first choice was Alyssa Milano, and I ended up getting connected with someone who had previously cast her in Insatiable, and so it just kind of it worked out. The stars aligned for that. Um, But, like and same thing with Panavision, we got a Panavision, film grant. We had a camera package, through ISA, and we wanted to have something different, and we thought we had to use it, and we talked to them and said, "We want the best in the business," and that's what we got. I asked a friend, "Will you do a cover of Love is the Drug, a Roxy Music song?" And they were like, "Yeah." And a lot of these people, like, they just did it because they thought it was a cool idea. They believed in me. They're my friend. Um, and so people can say no. People do say no. I get rejected a lot, but I asked because I also saw that other people asked and they got something. So I don't know. It's part of the hustle.
Yeah, great, great, great answer. Last question. Your podcast rejection.
Yes, that's it.
What's that going to be about?
Well, the idea is, and it's just kind of been in flux, and that's Alicia Gaddis and myself, and we really do want to do it. We started to do it, and then it kind of got. I think the pandemic kind of waylaid us, but the idea is we talk to people about their rejections
Mhm.
and how those rejections affected them. Did it make them stronger? Um, did it break you? How did you pick yourself up? Because uh, fortunately, unfortunately, the reason that I feel like I work so hard tends to be like to say fuck you to people. I mean, to be blunt, it's like I had a guy many years ago say to me on a sketch comedy team, you know, you are not talented. I don't want you in on this team. Why don't we vote to see who should be on the team? And it really devastated me to hear someone say one of my biggest fears is that I'm not talented and that I don't belong somewhere. And he said the thing, and I didn't die, and I a week later decided to put my one woman show on the main stage at IO West to be like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to
Mhm.
show you, I'm going to show you. And like, that's the first script I ever wrote. And, um, I don't think I'm the only one who's uh, like, who it's like, I want to stomp on the bodies of, of the people who like didn't believe in me and like show you. And I also want to inspire specifically other women to show them um, that they can do it. And the same thing with the comments, like the comments for on Shutter for the Etheria film night is, wow, I mean, so many 5 stars and then so many people, so many, I think men, to be
Haters.
honest. It's so
Haters.
many, and they're so hateful. And they're like, what like this is all about men being bad. It's like, well, the majority of women who are murdered are killed by their partners. It's like women are targeted because they are women. And you're just this is why I make those comments are why I've made the projects that I've made.
Mhm.
Like I clearly doing something right if you get
You
that
hit a
angry about
nerve.
it. I was like, oh, okay. Wouldn't want to be your wife.
Yeah.
And so I don't even remember the question. But
You answered it. You basically answered it. So what's next?
what is next is well, a big goal of mine is to make No Overnight Parking the feature. Everything is stalled right now. So we had the Blumhouse lab, and that's going on for will be a year, and it'll probably be extended. It's a K Period Media and Blumhouse inaugural screenwriting lab, and my mentors were Cooper Samuelson at Blumhouse and Kevin Williamson, uh, the screenwriter of Scream, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and you know we're eventually supposed to turn in another draft, but we certainly can't right now. But I think I've created something that's very shootable and commercial, and so I want to tell that story. And then there's some other projects that I'm working on, but right now it's like I can't. I'll have a lot of people to talk to. Luckily, I have some new reps at Echo Lake Entertainment, and I will be meeting with a bunch of people to talk about specific projects when the strike is over. So I will see. But
Okay.
directing overnight parking, that's what I'll be doing.
Okay. So
That's what's next.
yeah, I'll keep my fingers crossed for that $4 million.
Yeah, it's like 4 million. Depends on. I'll take more, but
Well, that's a nice starting point. That's a nice starting point to 4 million.
yeah.
Very nice starting point. But this has been absolutely amazing. So where can people find you?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram, Megbot3000, 2 Gs. I have 1 G in my name, but Megbot3000 with 1 G was taken. So Megbot3000. I have a website. You can contact me through Echo Lake Entertainment. And then also I have a couple of shorts on YouTube, but they're like little shorts that cost like $100 to make, but they're very fun. Um, and Then right now, Give Me an A it's streaming. It's on like all platforms, VOD, and you can get through Amazon, Apple, and Give Me an A. And my short is called The Voiceless. It's the first short, and then right now it is streaming through. Uh, Overnight Parking is streaming through the Theory of Film Night, and that is on Shutter till the end of July. I'm the first short in that as well. That's No Overnight Parking. So you can do that. And then also, if you want to see it live, I'm playing at Holly Shorts. I found out I got into Holly Shorts Film Festival, which I'm very excited about. And we're playing in the horror block on August 11th at 10 p.m. So that'll be very fun to play the Chinese theater with that.
Okay. Well, I know I said that was the last question, but I forgot to ask you this one.
Okay.
Jenny, and
Oh, yeah.
then new to the film with the two in it. I can't remember the title.
Next to You.
Next to You. Now you're talking about opposite ends of the spectrum.
Same
Because,
apartment, but
wow, Next to You, I kept waiting for the shoe to drop because I said she writes horror. So this is a beautiful story, and it's
yes.
getting lovelier and lovelier and lovelier. When is the shoe going to drop? And the shoe,
The shoe doesn't drop.
it
But
doesn't
that was
drop.
actually
It was really cool, and I really liked the ending when you were walking into your apartment and you kind of looked at him,
and
and
my
then he.
husband,
Oh, so
yeah.
that okay,
Yes,
that
yes,
was so that
yeah.
was your real husband.
That is my husband, yeah.
Cool.
I always
And
make
he,
fun of him because he like lifts the fake box like really awkwardly, and he's like, "That's the proper way to lift." I'm like, "Okay."
yeah,
Yes, that is my husband. That was my first short. It cost
cool.
$60 to make. We shot for like 8 hours, and that's why I was like, "Oh, it's so simple." But it's like it's MOS, like there's no sound, and we had a cinematographer and then I think maybe one other crew person, I'm not quite
Mhm.
sure, and we borrowed a red camera. Like it was like there was nothing. Um, so yeah, it literally cost $60 to make, and I think that was just like pizza. That one is just I was an apartment manager in a free location, and I thought, what can I do here in this free location? Uh, and then Jenny is that was for the Roger Corman challenge. I submitted it to that and had to be under 2 minutes with on your phone with the lights in your apartment with the people you're quarantining with. So my husband and I shot it. My husband and I are in it. There's no one else in it. He has a cinematography credit on IMDb now.
Nice,
So
nice, nice.
yeah.
So I have to ask, what was it about?
Oh, Jenny.
Yes, Jenny. What is I'm saying? I'm saying,
It's
okay,
about I think it's about like the horror inside someone is like
okay.
they're afraid of like something else. But for me, it's like I've always said like I am I'm terrified like what's in me. I used to like make a lot of bad choices, and
Hmm.
I think that uh I'm only a step away from kind of going reverting back to my old self. And so to me it was about like this monster inside you.
Okay, okay. Well, you know what? Then that's a movie that we all need to watch. It's on YouTube on the Meg Swertlow channel. Please go watch it because with that description that you just gave, that is so on point because there are so many of us that are one decision away from the people we used to be. And I
Yeah.
definitely don't want to be that dude no
Yeah,
more
I don't want
because
to be that person.
oh boy, been there,
So,
done that.
yeah. Oh, and one other thing, and people don't know this is a Jenny is a female donkey. So that is one caveat,
Oh,
which
and
makes
that
sense.
music, Charlotte, my sister Charlotte, if you can hear me, you need to go watch that film because it is amazing.
The
And the
music
music,
is so good. My husband's always like, that's the best score of any of your shorts. And my friend Jacques Braupar, he's done Watcher, Jenny, Blood Will Have Blood, No Overnight Parking, and honestly, he probably did another one too that I can't
yeah,
think of. But he's done and The Voiceless. So
okay.
he's done at least 5 of my shorts. He did the music for that, and it's so creepy. It's
Yo,
so creepy.
listen,
Those voices is like
that music.
creepy.
Okay, all right, we were supposed to go, but I got to talk about this film real quickly. When she's lying there, and then she gets up and she turns off the light
Mm-hmm.
and she sees it, and that music comes up. I said, "Oh, I said, oh shit." I said, "Oh
Like
shit."
Carmina Burana.
Now I'm scared. Now I'm
Yeah,
scared.
it's scary.
And I had a visceral reaction.
Mm-hmm.
I was cool with the apparition appearing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I've seen
Okay.
that before. But
Yeah.
when that music hit,
Yeah.
that went to another level.
It's creepy.
It
It's super creepy.
really is.
I
That
never
music, yeah.
I never got
I'm-
to see it with an audience, but I got to see, like, people
mhm.
watching it live, and people are like, "What the fuck? Like, what is this?" And it's so I'm just like, and it's act as a comedy. It's like, my shorts tend to have, like, a bite at the end, and that's just because like, my my reaction, my instinct will always to be like, "Get the joke in, get the
Mhm.
joke in." I'll send you Watcher, but it's oh my that's my instinct of just like, "Oh,
Okay.
you thought it was gonna go this way and it
Yeah.
didn't."
Yeah. That bad boy. I'm like, okay, that's a
It's
scary
weird.
ass 2 minutes and 32
It's
seconds.
weird. It's weird.
It
It's
really is.
weird.
But Meg, I'm not going to keep you any longer because you have that
That little
beautiful young lady to get back
baby.
to.
She
But
will.
thank you so much for taking
Yeah,
some time out of your busy day to come and sit down
I'm
and
happy
talk with
to.
me about everything that you got going on. And I'm so looking forward to seeing Overnight Parking as a feature film because I just cannot wait to see the entire story, what led to
Mhm.
that particular point
It's fun. It's
in the
really
parking
fun.
lot. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. So any
Thank
parting
you.
words for audience
Um,
watching and the audience that will be watching?
what I always say is like, if you wanna make a movie, go make one. Just go do something. Use your phone, use your friends. Just do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
Short, sweet, and to the point. And
Mhm.
on that note, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for joining myself and the amazing Meg Swertlow. Please follow her on Instagram. Please go visit her website and please go watch her films on YouTube. They are absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
I truly enjoyed them. And as I always say, ladies and gentlemen, love this like a hobby, but above all else, treat it like a business. And on that note, everyone have an absolutely amazing night. Take care.
Thanks.